Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff show. We're going to be talking about all the amazing comics that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, May 18th. That is some absolutely amazing and new comics that are going to be on FOC this week. Some brilliant key moments and major storylines on comics you know and love. And we're going to have a guest that's going to bring you to another world. So stay tuned and do not miss out after this opener. Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you.
All right.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about the incredible comics on FOC this Monday, May 18th. Boys, what do you got to say?
Whoa, I'm back.
Billy's back, and he's not in a bad outfit. It's crazy.
No, I left the nipples back at the cave, so just the gold jacket today.
Yeah, I mean, I love my wonderful co-hosts on this. We have the unbelievable producer Kyle. We have the ever so brilliant master of, I think, all things Coliseum of comics, Billy. This is a hive mind of comic knowledge from different parts of the industry, here to present you with our thoughts on the various comics you have to finalize orders from your local comic shop this weekend. So,
see, I'm spending all my time not thinking about comics, but how to make a good joke about the Yankees being the worst team in the American League. Anyway, so nobody wants to hear me talk baseball. But they took away my baseball sports talk show.
All right. Well, in the meanwhile, if anybody wants to catch up and join us along this epic journey of incredible comics on Final Order Cutoff week after week, let's take a moment to remind everyone of the key websites we can use to see all the books that are on FOC. Because we're in a modern era where there are so many distributors, so many publishers, and so many titles week after week that the best thing we can do is at least condense it down to 2 major websites you can see the majority of it all on. And if you're a fan of Marvel, IDW, Dark Horse, Distillery, Kodansha, Square Enix, I can go on and on, because Penguin Random House is one of the largest book distributors in the world. You're going to want to go view them all at prhcomics.com. At prhcomics.com, you will see, I'm going to scroll down because there's so many heads there. It's one of the first things on their website, FOC right there. Clicking on this will bring you over to this delightful FOC page that I'm going to click back to the top on, and you'll see all the books that PRH is offering for Monday, May 18th FOC. I always recommend putting it titled A to Z just to make it a little bit easier organized. But what's that, Billy? You said that you're more of a DC and Image fan? Well, don't worry, You can find all of the DC books, the Image books, the Oni books, and so many other great distributors that are not offered through Penguin Random House over at lunardistribution.com. Lunardistribution.com, another very well organized little website just like this. Clicking into Lunar Distribution, you can scroll on down to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're clicking on the right date, May 18th, and you'll see all of their great offerings on FOC. So
I'm very excited about that Carrie Andrews cover.
I am incredibly hyped about some absolutely amazing comics that we can be talking about over at Lunar. But I also feel we're going to throw it all off. We're going to switch it over to Penguin Random House first. What do you think?
Going back? I love it. PRH, let's go.
All right, let's talk PRH. Let's open it up right off the bat. Do you want to dive right in?
I think we kind of want to dive right in.
All right. Yeah, I know we have Billy for a limited amount of time. So let's start it off with the most interesting title change on a popular series celebrating the, Kyle, this is where I need you. What are we celebrating this year?
The semi-quincentennial.
The semi-quincentennial of America. 250 years since 1776. And as Marvel sent our classic Avengers and heroes back in time to that epic moment, we now have a collection, a trade paperback having it all, with the most unique new title for it. Billy, what's up with that title?
Yeah, so 1776.0. When the series came out, initially it was 1776, and it was obviously our heroes going back to the American Revolution and the fight for independence. But it looks like we're kind of reframing it now to be the jumping off point for an American Revolution Marvel series. So, let's do with that what we will.
Yeah, I mean, could mean there is a 1777.1. Could mean there's a 1777, about too many numbers. It's a lot, but it was a fun series. I enjoyed it. It was a great 5-issue tale, getting it all, in an $18 binding. I'm not going to complain. And it's a great way to celebrate the anniversary this July of our great nation. So
as you report from another country,
as I say that in Canada right now, you are correct. Yes, I'm betraying everything. Meanwhile, a key figure for all of the world and nation of comics was the classic figure Stan Lee. And Stan Lee posthumously has a new graphic novel with the incredible works of Jeremy Hahn and Danny Luckert, Airwalker. It's a new graphic novel from Ignition based on an old Stan Lee idea. And look, this isn't the first time we've seen Stan Lee's name attached to projects that he didn't directly, per se, have his hand in crafting. I mean, we can do that all the way back to the 1960s at Marvel, if we're being honest. But...
ooh, shots fired.
Yes. But this is an interesting one. And I mean, I love Jeremy Hahn personally. I think that his name alone is the type of thing that will sell me on a new superhero graphic novel. But I believe this is the first original graphic novel to hit from Ignition Press.
It absolutely is. And like you said, I love Jeremy as well. Beauty is a thing of beauty. That being said, posthumously throwing on Stan Lee, because, I guess it was originally his idea. I think this is going to be, like, for me at least, the first can't miss from Ignition. And I love Ignition Press, but this is definitely going on my personal subscription.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at the direct market exclusive cover right now. I'm trying to see if we can see what the mass market looks like. I am not seeing it though. But yeah, this edition is available exclusively to comic shops and will feature the cast of Airwalker in a stunning variant cover by Danny Luckert.
It is very, and I know we're very short on time, but this is very, very classic Silver Age Marvel. We've got God particles. We've got mobsters. If you love classic Stan Lee, classic Marvel, with a modern twist, you're just gonna put this on your pool.
Yeah, easy $20 graphic novel. It's a great price point. We're seeing the price points of graphic novels go higher and higher these days. This is one of those things that it excites me to see. There we go. There's the mass market Airwalker.
All right, cover. Billy, you're the data guy here. You're the one who looks at the Excel doc. Are they different products in terms of their listing? Because one is the direct market and one is the mass market.
Yeah. Yes, and
so it's not considered a variant. It's considered a separate product.
That is correct. That's specifically with collected or bound editions. You see that most of the time. So I think they kind of simplify it for us simple comics retailers, where they will, treat it like a variant for us, but they typically have a different ISBN and they typically have an alternate title code. So they are technically an alternate, it's not a variant. It's an alternate product. Yes.
So make sure when you go to your local comic shop, if you have a thing for feet, and you want the 10 issue cover, make sure you let them know that you want the 10 issue cover so they can order the right one.
It's the ISBN that ends with 06, not 61.
Ah, there you go. All right. Now here is a big one. I'm sure everyone in their life has been waiting for Peter Parker to have the talk. And I'm hoping it's not the talk that we fear it might be, but with Aunt May and Uncle Ben standing on the cover, I'm worried it could be that poor teenage Peter just never got the tale of how the birds and the bees work. But Amazing Spider-Man 31 offers us very little in this solicitation other than it is the talk. And Peter Parker's world will never be the same. Look, I got a lot of innuendo jokes I could make there.
I'm just saying, Man of Action, Joe Kelly himself doing Spider-Man. I've loved it so far. That being said, we already know the talk. Uncle Ben gave it years ago, and I'm going to give the exact same talk when it's time to do the birds and bees with my sons. And it's going to be with great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And we use protection. That's the other key.
And always use protection. Yeah. Keep those web shooters covered.
There it is. But the big emphasis on this is in very traditional Marvel hyperbole is don't miss one of the most pivotal issues in Spider-Man history. I get Marvel is notorious for saying these things, but I have faith in Joe Kelly. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be in this issue, but I'm excited. There's a number of great covers. I love the foreshadowing variant here with Aunt May and Peter. Personally, I love all the covers. One of these is definitely making it into our top 10, but I'm a little excited about this issue. I don't know, where do you stand on this, Billy? I think this is something that deserves a little bit of scrutiny, and maybe it might be something I up my orders on.
Here's the thing, and this is again getting into inside baseball to where we're on Yankees cap today, the best team in MLB history. That being said, whenever Marvel plays coy with their solicits in this way, where it's very brief and not very descriptive, or loads up the variant covers, in this case, we're seeing 8 additional covers beyond the main. So we're going to have 9 covers total. So 9 covers and a vague solicit. That usually means Marvel is banking on something big coming out of this, sales-wise, story-wise, or both of the above. And for me, as a retailer and somebody that handles ordering for a chain of stores, that is a non-verbal cue to bump those numbers and get excited because that means something awesome is going to happen. And then it's just as a comics book fan, that's the cue for me to go like, hey, can I please add ASM 31? Which I'm pretty sure we're all sub to ASM, right? But if you're not, this is probably a good time to jump in.
I like it. That was that's input we call Billy in for.
I wonder what would have happened if instead of having the keep your web shooter covered talk, Uncle Ben had said, don't let your girlfriends get thrown off of buildings by bad guys. What would have happened to Spider-Man?
Probably totally different path in life. I'm going to go assume.
We're saying shots fired at me. Man, that made me feel horrible. Oh, poor Gwen. But yeah, all right. So Amazing Spider-Man 31, definitely one to keep an eye on, even though we don't have a lot of information. I'm definitely going to be eyeing that, some amazing covers. Every cover you see right there, I want personally. Speaking of great covers, Arcadia 6, that Inaki Miranda cover is just the cutest thing in the world. But let's talk about something I know me and Billy are both fond of. We talked it up the first time around. It's the Art of Star Wars: A New Hope manga, Volume 2.
Yeah, and I think the title kind of tripped up a lot of retailers and fans where they thought it was just going to be a manga art book, and it's an actual reprint of the 90s Star Wars manga with some additional back material. But this is the first time this book has been in print in like 20 something years or something like that. 30 years, a long time. Yeah. So it's $49.99 price point, but it's just going to look amazing on your shelf. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you like manga, either of those, this would be a great pickup. But if you like both, like me or like you, Matthias, like this is going to be like a need. Like this is not a want. This is on the scale of need. This is going to be probably somewhere in the middle next to food and shelter.
Oh yeah. Now Hisao Tamaki did some of the best storytelling I've seen in foreign Japanese Star Wars. And I mean, I have seen everything from Go Nagai do it to Adam Warren. I mean, you've seen countless American creators and European creators take their opinion of how Star Wars can be interpreted. I think that Tamaki's manga is brilliant, and this presents itself like an artist edition. If anybody's a fan of Japanese manga art, you know it is near impossible to get a hold of original manga art. It is a very difficult thing, and this is going to be the closest you're going to ever get. So, really, really cool. All right. Let's Kyle, I feel you're not talking enough here. Can we talk a little bit about your pros pick of the week early on this week?
Well, okay, the actual good Avengers. The Avengers, Steed and Mrs. Peel, Death in Downing Street. Guys, this was a British TV show from back in the day. It's like Get Smart meets like Law and Order. You have
James
these two
Bond.
spies. Yeah, James Bond. All of that rolled into the most uptight British detectives you've ever heard of. I mean, these people have never heard the word fun and thought that sounds like something I want. But they're always around the most interesting cases that you can come up with. There have been great comics done by, I think, Titan and several other publishers have published comics with Steve and Mrs. Peel. But this is a brand new prose story featuring these classic British characters written by David Crichton. It's set in 1967 in England, and the Prime Minister is determined to turn the UK into more of a European economic community. And then just days before this is to happen, what do you need detectives for? Somebody dies. And they have to figure out why they died and who killed them and what it means for all of England. And again, these people couldn't have a bigger stick up their butt, but it's always fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's always fun to read. Like, it's one of those. If you watch Downton Abbey and think, man, these people are like the Jersey Shore, that would be Steed and Peel. So
it is very British. It is very stuffy. You're not wrong. If you want something more timely with these characters, they did do a remake in I believe the late 90s. Or Uma Thurman played Miss Peel. And if you happen to be in Spain, like last week, they had the world's biggest fan meetup for the Avengers going on. Not Avengers, Captain America, and Iron Man. Our dear beloved British Avengers here. Yeah, that's a thing that just happened.
Absolutely. I mean,
it's beloved. Like, yeah, that's the weird thing, right? That's the weird thing about these characters, right? Like, you wouldn't think with my description that people would love them as much as they do, but they are beloved. It's like Olivia Benson and Elliot Stabler are for Law and Order, right? People love these characters and still love them from the 60s. So
we just learned something about Kyle. He loves Special Victims Unit since he's just dropping names like that.
There it is.
Listen, it's the longest running show on television, except for another British show.
Yeah. So, fun one I got to point out for anyone who is intrigued by the Avengers, but not familiar with the TV show or not familiar and up to date on their English, locations. This is the equivalent of the Death at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. 10th Downing Street is the home of the PM of the UK. So, big one. Prime Minister, 10th Downing Street, death in his house, and the Avengers got to solve it. I think this is a fun one. I think this is definitely something that I'm personally going to be putting on my poll. All right. Getting back to sequential artwork. A lot of great things to talk about on this week's FOC, but the next one is going to be a major. Actually, hold on. Because Billy's here and he likes to point out DC things on PRH, there's three I got to talk up. We have a $10 edition of Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder's Dark Knight's Metal.
So good.
Such a great read, easy entry point. If you want a modern, heavy, super intense battle structure with Greg Capullo doing the DC universe at full steam, Dark Knight's Metal. Then DCKO has 2 tie-in trade paperbacks. DCKO All Fight, which oddly enough does not have the Kids Are All Fight in it. It's only the one-shot fighting battles from the DCKO set between issues 2 and 4. And then DC Battle Royale, which does include the Battle Royale issue and DCKO's The Kids Are All Fight. I don't understand the naming conventions at DC, but I can tell you these are some fun stories. And if for any reason you read DCKO or picking up the DCKO trade and hardcovers, but didn't get these tie-ins, I can tell you for once you are missing out. Sometimes you can ignore the peripheral content of an event. I don't recommend it on DCKO. You want to get this peripheral content. You want to get the side stories. It is fun. Now, I don't know about you, Billy. I am a huge fan of Iron Fist. Like, to the degree that it is all over my phone. I love Iron Fist. So when the Deadly Hands of Kunlun came up, I got excited. But I am most excited about issue number 5, introducing a new combatant to the series. A first appearance of a new villain who also gets to be on these covers right here, the War Fist.
The War Fist. Okay, so what do we know about the War Fist?
Well, right now there are a number of threats to the 7 heavenly cities of the Marvel Universe. These are these cities that fade and disappear and return in brief ways of interacting with our world. From there, we've gotten champions like the Iron Fist in his various forms, the Eternal Dragons, like, oh god, now I can't remember the dragon that Danny hugged and gave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to say the dragon, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. It's not Shinron for sure.
Yeah.
Is it Kunlun?
No, Kunlun would be the.
That's the city. That's the city.
Shao.
That's not Shenron, because that's the only name I can come up with too.
Yeah, I know, man. Dragon Balls, that's a problem today.
Xiao Lao. It's Xiao Lao.
Yeah, but we don't really know much about War Fist yet. I don't know what it is. He's clearly got fist-based powers. He's a strong figure if he can knock out White Tiger, Swordmaster, and the immortal Danny Rand. So it seems like a fun threat. I've been loving Yigan Zhang's amazing run on this. If you have ever been a fan of those like kung fu exploitation stories of the 70s, if you like anything from Bruce Lee to Chuck Norris, this has been an amazing comic that would be right up your alley. It is very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon-esque with our Marvel heroes and with a new villain. I'm only excited to see where this goes. So we have that fun.
Anytime that Iron Fist is in the spotlight, I'm gonna read it. It's just that's he's one of my guys. He's one of my characters, and especially you give me a new villain, like I'm very here for it.
All right, yeah. Now here's one I'm wondering if you've already read the solicit on, because this solicit's amazing. Now my personal interpretation reading this book was it was John Wick meets Castaway, and I'm half expecting Wilson the volleyball to be in it. But Dispatched is a new comic series by B. Clay Moore and Daniel Geet. And I think that this is just a beyond ridiculous concept. Do you know anything about this yet, Billy?
I don't. This is going to be a new one for me.
All right. Our protagonist of Dispatch is an ex-Black Ops agent who is now hiding under a new identity in America as a delivery driver, when all of a sudden he stumbles upon a domestic terrorist act and has to fight his way free and save America. He's going to be a MacGyver of sorts with this, and the only access he has with 0 weapons or arms on him is whatever the contents are of the packages he was supposed to deliver. And the vast majority of them are useless items. This is the concept of Dispatched, and in my opinion, I cannot wait to see these boxes get opened.
This is what I love about Ignition Press. Ignition Press is doing the closest thing to American manga right now. They are just trying the weirdest, funnest things in comics, bar none. I don't think I've been disappointed with the concept of any of the Ignition Press lines so far. Again, I think it's the closest thing we have to American manga in terms of like, we're just going to throw everything into the blender and spit something out, and it's either going to be awesome or it's going to be weird, or both. So I'm here for Dispatched as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to really double check this. They gave a comparative I wouldn't have used, but I think was really good. MacGyver meets Die Hard. There you go.
Yeah, I saw that as well. And listen, when I was a kid and I'd get in trouble, my grandmother would make me watch reruns of MacGyver on TV because it was her favorite show. I always pretended to hate it. MacGyver is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. So if that's in a solicit, if they're referencing a 40-year-old TV show, like, okay, let's give it a try. It just goes back to they're just going to do weird things over Ignition, and they're going to, it's going to be great.
I'm just waiting to see.
They missed the trick. It should be MacGyver meets DoorDash.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but no, it's a fun one. I am definitely excited about this. All right. Next up, when we talk about manga, we may as well go to manga. A new piece from Kodansha, Dragon Circus. The world suddenly opens up to brand new monsters called dragons. They're everywhere. They're deadly. They're destroying every place you love and hold dear. So the new United Nations puts together a super team, a vampire, a robot, and a grade school girl who is the best mech fighter you can imagine. This is the weirdest group of Avengers, the most insane Justice League you can imagine in true manga form, fighting giant dragon kaiju monsters. Brand new series from Eiichi Shimizu. I personally think this is going to be hilarious.
I do too. Kodansha, we're in the summer of we're coming up on the summer of the FIFA World Cup. So Blue Lock is blowing up. You've heard me talk about Blue Lock on the show before. Anytime Kodansha is sending us, and they're so passionate about manga and localizing manga. Anytime Kodansha is releasing stuff over here, I'm going to give it a try. I mean, I'm very enthusiastic about this week's FOC. If you can't tell, I think Dragon Circus is going to be a lot of fun. But with that, I have a small emergency in my city, so I need to put on my codpiece and my nipple suit and go save the day. So I will see you guys next Friday. Have a great rest of your Order Up show, and I love you all.
Godspeed, Batman.
Don't pick up any orphans. It's just easier.
All right. We'll come back to orphans in a moment. Another one on a very opposite end, if you just need a drink to calm yourself at the end of the day, maybe try The Drops of God. The Drops of God is a series of manga popularly talking about wine and the history of wine that has blown up throughout Asia and Europe. It literally has led to an Apple TV series, and the newest volume dealing with New World wines and Napa Valley is on FOC this week. I don't think there was ever any moment in my life I thought part of my job would be talking about sequential art discussing wine.
Do you have a wine aunt in your life? You know who I'm talking about, that older cousin, or again, an aunt who likes wine a little too much and maybe should invest in a new wardrobe from this millennia so they're not creepy. This is the manga for them. This whole book is really about this very specific culture of a fine wine doesn't have to be an expensive wine so long as you drink enough of it. I've read this volume already. They let me read it at Comics Pro, and it's super interesting, super specific. And as a person who's in recovery, makes me wish I could enjoy wine again. I'll be honest. It's a very fun slice of life manga that I think, as you look for manga that isn't, in that traditional style, it's not the popular boys love, or it's not the popular mech, or it's not the popular battle manga. This is a great modern, you don't have to think too hard about it. Just enjoy it manga.
I mean, the interesting thing is I've read manga that's taken place everywhere from London to New Tokyo, Los Angeles to Seoul. I never thought I would open up a manga that took place in Napa Valley. But right there on the cover, definitely a fun one. So it's the fun of, comics in the modern era. There's a book for everyone. And if you've been liking all of that and you want to see your kaiju more westernized, we do have the brand new Godzilla Kaisei trade paperbacks all on FOC this week. Godzilla Kaisei, Godzilla Escape from Dead Zone, and Starship Godzilla all on FOC this week to catch you up for, in my opinion, some of the best Godzilla storytelling we've had in years. All right.
And
Another
quickly, because we kind of talked about it when at FOC, but a book that came out this week that I really want to highlight is Godzilla versus Texas.
Yes.
And, just if you have the extra dough, head over to Bedrock City Comics and check out their exclusive of Godzilla versus Texas. It's maybe the funniest exclusive cover I've ever seen in my entire life. And it is a great representation of what this book is. It is just fabulous. And that book is my favorite Godzilla versus a place book that they've done yet.
I've got to take a look at this variant at some point. Well, all right. Now that might end up on the screen in a moment. Normally we always want you to go to your local comic shop, support your local comic shop, but I might have to load this up now and take a look. But meanwhile, Hellboy and the BPRD gets a brand new one shot because you know what? There's no letting go of Hellboy. Mike Mignola may have retired, but we're not gonna let him go sit down and paint for the rest of his life. Keep dragging him back. Give us more Hellboy. I cannot stop with my love for him. So Hellboy and the BPRD has a one-shot featuring the monster of Nivola. And as Hellboy heads off to Europe to go and track down this creature, he gets pulled into, well, let's say a monastery of sorts with its own problems. Done in one, great entry point, new artwork from Daniel Serra. I mean, this is an easy win. $5, you have it all, and you get more Hellboy.
Never go wrong with too much Hellboy.
I think there's a reality to that. I mean, we have Hellboy. We had Hellboy in Love on FOC last week. We get a new Hellboy in the BPRD this week. I am good with this. So here's one. I mean, again, manga titles that just get long. I love these titles. Hunting in Another World with My Elf Wife, Volume 7. I Got Married to the Girl I Hate Most in Class, Volume 3. But here's the interesting one that I looked at the title, I laughed a little bit, and then I read it, and I'm like, we got to talk about it. It's I'm Fine with Being the Second Girlfriend, Volume 1. Not something I feel too many people have ever said out loud in their life. But this interesting concept talks about a couple where neither of them are in a relationship with the person they ideally want to. They're ending up with their second choice in life, and they're making the best out of it. They have a good relationship. They're going away and fulfilling their carnal desires with one another, but they truly secretly still have that passion for the other person in life that they love most, and it seems just doesn't love them because they know if that person said, I love you, they would drop everything to be with them. The question becomes, though, when you know that's the relationship you're in, where you're kind of settling, what happens as you interact more and more and all of that starts to merge? Can the person you settled for become the person you truly love? Or will this always be on the edge of utter collapse? Now, being a 7 Seas mature manga, this is definitely going to be a sexy teen plus book, as the cover defines. But it is an interesting concept that, I feel once again, you don't get to see outside of certain Western prose novels and Japanese slice of life. Not for everyone, but it'd be, a fun one worth bringing up. lot of great continuing series, reprints of amazing things like Boom Studios' Jane, which does a modern day take on Jane Eyre. We have a lot of great collections, new manga volumes, and new issues coming out on this week's FOC. But a big one is the return, it's coming towards summertime, of the Marvel Swimsuit Special. The Marvel Swimsuit Special is back. Now we have new writers, Cody Ziegler and Daniel Kibblesmith, coming in with an array of brilliant artists and a vast amount of variants. Marvel says, and this is literally their words, I'm going to highlight it, that they heard the complaints. They heard the complaints that allegedly Marvel was being too safe and had too many words, so they're making this one sexier than ever. I don't know what that means. I mean, I've heard the controversy that it's all white women on the cover, but it's an interesting one. I personally love Tony Fleek's take on the Marvel Swimsuit Special last year. It was a fun return. I'm curious what this will be. I'm curious if Marvel will live up to that solicitation. And I know there's at least 5 or 6 covers I'm probably going to commit to. No, I thought you were going to go there with me, Kyle. No,
I'm wondering if we're past the era where the swimsuit special is relevant. But then I think about the pictures I saw from the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue and went, nope, never mind.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I'll personally say, like, that Mercandolfo 1 in 50 variant. Oh, if it wasn't a 1 in 50 variant, I'd be ordering a pile.
Right. The conversations that we're having surrounding these kind of books are important to have. I think it's time that we saw a plot in these books that is actually maybe multiple story arcs. You know, you do 2 or 3 issues, a summer special instead of just a swimsuit special. You know, the girls of Marvel go to spring break or something and have to solve have to defeat Doctor Doom or something as he tries to ruin spring break for America's college kids. I don't know, something to make it so it's not just the salaciousness that it has been in the past. I think you're right. Tony did a great job last year. I'd be interested to see what Daniel Kibblesmith does with this year.
Absolutely.
And see if maybe in the new era of Marvel and DC thinking about things slightly differently, it may be a perfect time for adaptation of what this story is.
Well, and another thing I want to point out, I feel that this year they clearly lost in their attempt at being sexier. We've talked about it on the show a number of times, and we pointed out even, aftermarket values have proven this and sales figures have proven this, that, well, the cheesecake female covers are great and sell. The cheesecake male covers are becoming a very popular high demand item. It's a wide range of showing. People from all over don't just want the sexy female. That's still always a popular item, but the sexy male is also a high demand item. And the closest we're really getting is Gambit on that Muhammad Asrar cover. And arguably on the A cover, somewhere buried in there, there's a little bit of Venom, but this is something where I feel Marvel really dropped the ball on, especially releasing the day after Pride Month. But again, it's there are a large number of women, there's a large number of gay men, there's a large number of even just people across the board that can appreciate a sexy male cover just as much as they can a sexy female cover. And not including that, I think, is just leaving money on the table for Marvel. All right. One I wish we still had Billy for, but I'm going to see how good of a knowledge Kyle has, is the brand new Power Rangers Unlimited. Power Rangers are back at Boom with a brand new series, and this is going to be a best of all of the Power Rangers. It is your super team from 30 years of Power Rangers history. The best of the best, all in one team, not just constantly returning to the early 90s group of the original 5 Rangers, but this is going to be a little bit of everything. And this is where my memory gap unfortunately fails, because I can tell you about Tommy and I can tell you about the Pink Ranger and the Yellow Ranger and the Red Ranger of the original team. I couldn't tell you much about anything beyond that group of Power Rangers. But
I could talk more insight. I could talk more in depth about Amy Jo Johnson's post Power Rangers acting career than I could about any Power Rangers after they left.
Pretty much the same. But I know that we're not necessarily the standard on this. There are a lot of fans I've talked to, especially even in my shop, where their favorite Power Ranger doesn't get represented in the main Power Ranger comics. So this could be the new one. Bringing on Eisner-nominated writer Joey Esposito, who is a brilliant person when it comes to putting together things like a Sentai team, along with Kenny Porter and beautiful artwork by Alessio Zono. I'm excited to give this a shot. Again, it might not be the Power Rangers I'm familiar with, but I'm certain someone's favorite Power Ranger is going to be in this. And there are a million great covers to choose from, so hopefully your Power Ranger will be on it, as we actually have Alessia Zono doing a Ranger variant right there called the Every Ranger Ever variant. It will be a connecting series of variants, and I would lay odds your favorite Ranger will be somewhere on one of those books. All right. Next up, let's go to a notably darker place. Not A Quiet Place, which also is on FOC this week. But we're going to go to the Twilight Zone. Once we get through all these amazing continuing series that you should all take a moment to look through and add to your orders if there are things that intrigue you, the one I want to spotlight is this unbelievable anthology of standalone issues that have been coming out. And Twilight Zone number 8 brings Gabriel Hardman, a storyboard artist renowned for working on some of your favorite movies, and a brilliant comic writer and artist who has done amazing things such as Green Lantern Earth 1, Invisible Republic, Star Wars Legacy, and others, is going to do his take on a classic Twilight Zone era story as an aging Hollywood actor goes back in time to see his younger self on the set of the epic creature film and tries to convince him to change his life for the better. Beautifully drawn, Gabriel Hardman's cover is a hint at how amazing every interior panel is going to be. And with an unbelievable career in storyboarding, you know it's going to be a delightful tale. So this is going to be a very, very fun one. I am excited to read and share with others. Some great covers available. If your store is ordering enough to get the ratio, I always recommend anything by Jay Gonzo. He always does fun stuff. So that will be a really, really cool one to consider adding to your pull. But if you want something returning to more traditional superheroics, Marvel has quite a few brilliant ones on this week's FOC. The one I am most excited to talk to you about is A Tale of What If. And this one poses the question of what if Thor merged with the alien symbiote that would later be known as Venom. Great homage variant to that classic Secret Wars cover done by Sergio Davila. This is Torren Groenbeck and Sergio Davila doing a really, really awesome piece of storytelling. Sorry, I got a little distracted off camera there. Where what would have happened if Thor would have been the one on the battle world to get that symbiote? What does a venomized Thor look like? And I mean, at this point, I feel Marvel really has kind of hit what if everyone everywhere at any point in time would have been venomized? No?
Yeah, what if we found another character to stick Thor on or to stick Venom on? That would be great. What if Thor Bushman was Venom? Like, stop. I think this is the top. Like, this is the peak. Like, Thor with his powers and his skill set and his abilities with that symbiote is like the top level. You can't come up with anything cooler than this. Like, I don't even like Thor that much, but Thor Venom is like truly, I think, a special combination. So we can stop now. We don't need to stick the symbiote on anybody else. We found the peak. Like,
I mean, I think
what if, again,
I think that Torrin did a phenomenal job with her Thor run. I think she's doing great
right.
pretty much on everything she's writing, Red Sonja on, but Torrin, definitely the person to try and give us this tale.
What if Carnage became Venom? I mean, I suppose you could do that and it would be dumb, but it would be fun. This is like this could be a series that ran for a while because I think people would dig this.
Yeah. I will say some of the best what ifs in the history of Marvel's long number of what if tales have been Thor related. Whether it was Thor himself or Mjolnir getting picked up by Jane Foster. But
I'm sitting here looking at what if Thor and Jane Foster had to battle Odin? Like, I forget what they called that exact issue, but it's what if Thor had to battle the gods over Jane Foster or with Jane Foster? It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's like, right, the best what ifs are what if Thor, because Thor is kind of a universal character. Like, everybody knows the Greek or knows the Norse gods like that.
So with that, some amazing books, obviously, on FOC this week from Penguin Random House. The return of White Boat, I should point out, from Distillery. If anybody had been waiting for the epic conclusion of Scott Snyder and Franco Francavilla's tale of horror, that is going to be there. So make sure you look at all these incredible books, all these amazing variants over at PRH Comics and get your orders into us. But I think we might have a special guest. Am I right in that? Yes, Kyle?
I don't know. I put it in a private chat, which you're supposed to be reading.
Yeah. So, yes, we do have a special guest. So, without further ado, I want to bring you a creator who is a master of telling periods of time and other planets like no other, the incomparable David Avallone.
Hey, guys.
Hey, David, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing okay.
Awesome. So, David, we're bringing you on this week because you have a number of great tales to tell us of different time periods and different worlds. And again, as I said in the opener, I feel you are the man that brings these tales to us best, whether it's been Elvira in other worlds, Betty Page in different times, but you're managing to get the whole time traveling and world traveling concept combined in one book with the brand new series, Altered States Warlord.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of a pitch
Sure,
of the overall series on this?
Altered States is Dynamite's version of Marvel's What If, or what is DC? Elseworlds, I think is what DC has called it over the years. And when they reached out to me about this, the idea was to do Altered States stories for Red Sonja and Vampirella, and for John Carter. And after a little discussion, we were like, who should the fourth person be? And I think actually Joe Ryban said, why don't we stick with Edgar Rice Burroughs and use Tarzan? I was like, I love Tarzan. I've never written Tarzan. That'll be fun. And the originally what he said to me is, these can be 4 one-shots, but I know you and you're going to want it to be one long epic thing. And I said, yeah, I'm going to come up with one story that connects all of these what ifs. So it's sort of like dominoes. The first domino that falls is that in 10,000 BCE, which is when Red Sonja's time is, she gets zapped by an ancient artifact and ends up on Barsoom, on Mars. And she's arrived 11,866 years before John Carter. And if you're a fan of the John Carter books, you might remember in Gods of Mars, the second book, Carter runs afoul of the Therns, the Holy Thern Order, which is the official religion of Mars, which is kind of a sham that murders people for their gold. And Red figures that out pretty quickly, and the Therns are in there because it's 11,000 years earlier. The religion hasn't taken hold yet, and the Therns are in their missionary period. So she's able to interfere with their plans to take over the spiritual life of the entire planet. And then for the rest of the series, that changes everything. That changes what Barsoom is like when John Carter gets there, which is the second issue. And then Tarzan joins them in the third, and Vampirella arrives straight from Draculon in the fourth. And so yeah, it's 4 great heroes, 5 actually, because you got to count Deja in there. 5 great heroes up against a death cult that's trying to take over an entire planet. And it's good, clean, wholesome, turn of the century fun. I've talked about this before, but there's a name for the John Carter genre, which I love, which is planetary romance. And this is 4 issues of planetary romance. And that image, kind of sums it up. Planetary romance is basically swords and sorcery on other planets with a touch of science fiction, with a touch of space opera. And space opera and planetary romance definitely overlap a lot. Star Wars is a perfect example of something that is space opera, but it's also got a lot of planetary romance elements in it. Lightsabers and the Force are a big, that is literally swords and sorcery. Lightsabers and the Force are swords and sorcery. And that's the genesis of all of that later stuff. So this series is very much an expression of my love for that genre. And it's a genre that definitely took hold before space travel and before, by 30, 40 years after John Carter, we were pretty damn sure that nothing like Barsoom existed on Mars. But in the late 19th century, an astronomer named Sir Percival Lowell saw what he called canals on Mars, and people very much misunderstood. He meant channels, as in ancient erosion from millions of years ago, and people read that as, no, canals with water. It's like Venice on Mars. It's like, no, it's very much not like Venice on Mars. So there was an explosion of stories about Mars and greater interest in it. And that sort of beautifully innocent vision of the solar system and what it might be like spawned so much science fiction. Tatooine is just another version of Barsoom, really. The desert planet with the crazy monsters on it, and even uses a little bit of banths become banthas. It's not a big move in the language from John Carter to Star Wars. But yeah, so this is all of that swords and sorcery and, ray guns and flying machines and all of that. And, I think it's a pretty entertaining story, while also being a little bit about the premise of all of multiversal kind of stories, of the idea that one single wrong move or right move, that every decision you make causes a whole new universe to be born. And that's I reference a pretty famous work by a writer named Jorge Luis Borges called The Garden of the Forking Paths, which was his metaphor for the multiverse when he was writing, in the early to mid 20th century. So this is very much a Garden of the Forking Paths story. And the first fork is Red Sonja on Mars. So the first issue is basically Red Sonja, Warlord of Mars, which is good fun. And then in the second issue, John Carter comes to Mars, but he is literally the second coming from Jasum. He is the second coming from Earth. So he gets treated very differently as someone who's from the same planet as a woman who was the savior of Mars 10,000 years ago. And also, it allows me to update a little bit of the outdated sexist stuff from Burroughs because the idea that a woman saved Mars 11,000 years ago transforms Martian culture a little bit. It's not exactly as patriarchal as it was. It's still pretty patriarchal, but things have shifted a little bit. And Dejah Thoris is a little more Princess Leia and a little less damsel in distress. Because I think there's a fairly natural evolution of a society that had a female savior in its early historical period. But yeah, that's the book. It's I read the John Carter books when I was probably 11, 12 years old. And this is sort of a return to, Star Wars had actually just come out, and I was looking for something. You go to the library when you're a, nerdy kid in the 70s and say, I have to wait 2.5 more years for more Star Wars. What will give me that feeling? And you end up reading John Carter, The Princess of Mars. You end up reading E.E. Doc Smith's Galactic Patrol. Once you get a little older, you end up reading Frank Herbert's Dune. You end up reading Asimov's Foundation to get your Galactic Empire fix. So there's this is a tribute to all of that literature, but hopefully through a more modern lens.
I love it. So Altered States is going to be a 4-issue miniseries, correct?
Yes.
All right. So as this week, we're specifically dealing with the Red Sonja issue.
Yes.
Can you tell us, it sounds like this is going to be a butterfly effect. Red Sonja's actions are going to alter the issues one after another that our other heroes are going to be facing. What is Red Sonja going to run into when she ends up on Barsoom? I mean, we said the Therns, but
yes, there's a bit of Edgar Rice Burroughs hand wavy science fiction technology that might as well be magic, called the Eighth Ray, which is the thing that keeps Martian airships in the air, and it's a quality. It is something that can be harvested and separated out of sunlight. So basically, the as you can see in the if you're watching this on YouTube, on the lower right hand panel, Red's getting zapped by something as her partner in crime picks up the wrong artifact, and it's a Martian Eighth Ray artifact that has, for reasons not yet explained, found itself in a temple in Ricania in 10,000 BCE. Maybe we'll explain that, maybe we won't. But that's what. So because it's an Eighth Ray artifact, when she first arrives on Mars, she arrives in a Thern temple because they power their artifacts with the Eighth Ray. So she sort of gets transported by a mirror artifact of the one on Earth is also on Barsoom. And so she's instantly in a room full of sort of hostile people that are not excited to have someone in their temple. And from there on in, it's all conflict with the Therns. The conflict gets noticed by the Jeddak of Helium, who looks a little familiar to watchers of this show, and things all play out in the court of Jeddak Mors Mathis. And yeah, I think that's all I can say without spoilers. You can see in the top panel the goddess Isis statue, which also sort of is a hint of what's coming.
Absolutely. And I got to give a whole lot of love for that great name for a Jeddak there. So I'm hoping everyone who watches this goes out of their way to pick this up, because if you don't know anything about Red Sonja and you don't know anything about Barsoom, is this still an approachable entry point?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. You don't really, it doesn't play on any lore about Red Sonja. She's, all you need to know about her is she's a barbarian warrior and thief in Ricania in 10,000 BC. And that's it. And it's a fairly common thing in science fiction, including in John Carter, to have a character from outside be the one that introduces you to the new world. So you learn about Barsoom as Red Sonja learns about Barsoom. Obviously, if you're familiar with all of these characters, there are things you will appreciate a little more, but none of it is necessary to understand the story. I mean, as a perfect example, her partner in crime in the first pages, Tamsin, is actually from my Red Sonja Noir #1, in which he's killed. So this clearly takes place before that, but that's and that's a funny thing, that issue does not happen in this universe because Red's gone already by the time that that story unfolds. But yeah, it's all of the information you need to enjoy the story is presented in the story. And I got to say, that was challenging in the second issue because John Carter has such a once he arrives on Barsoom, there's his whole discovery period, and I kind of needed to condense that because the reader of this book has already been introduced to Barsoom. Yeah, look at that beautiful page. It's Mariano Benitez Chapo is my collaborator in this. He's the artist, and I wanted a really great Red Sonja, comes out of the temple and sees Barsoom for the first time and sees the pink sky and the people and the culture and goes, okay, I am no longer where I thought I was 5 minutes ago. So yeah, it's all of the information is in there. And it's the same thing. When I get to Tarzan, I'm not doing 10 pages of little baby found in the jungle raised by apes. We're picking him up as Lord Greystoke, well into his life and career as adventurer and Lord of the Apes. But you don't need to know more about him than whatever you have picked up from pop culture, But I think it definitely is a waste of the reader's time to go, let me tell you everything you need to know about. Like when someone picks up a Batman comic, you just have to assume we don't have to go through the whole thing. Every random issue of Superman does not have 5 pages of the destruction of Krypton, or you would hope. So the same thing. These are pretty iconic pop culture characters. And in some cases, like with Vampirella, I'm going back to the very beginning of her origin story, which is her arriving on Earth from Draculon. So you don't need to know anything about her except that sentence that she left the planet Draculon and she doesn't quite make it to Earth. She does make it to Barsoom, though, and gets sucked into the time period where all of this is occurring.
I love it. This is exciting. I love butterfly effect stories, so I can't wait to see how the world changes for each of these characters on Barsoom. And I mean, as somebody literally wearing my John Carter of Mars shirt right now,
Nice.
I can't wait to see how Barsoom changes with these characters' interactions.
Sure. Thank you.
But it's not just Barsoom you're changing with Red Sonja. As you already had mentioned, you referenced Red Sonja Noir, and you're returning to Red Sonja Noir once again with a new book coming up on FOC.
Yes, coming up. I think it's within a couple of weeks.
This Monday, actually, today.
Is it the same FOC as Altered States? I didn't realize that. I will put that. I was writing my Patreon when I realized I had to jump on this call. I will update that. Red Sonja Noir. Last year, sometime, Joe Ryban asked me for a Red Sonja one-shot. And the thing about Red Sonja is I'm a fan. I've read a lot of the comic books. I haven't read every single comic book. And I was thinking, and I think as a writer, you always have to ask yourself this question with IP, which is, with other people's characters, which is, what can I do that I can be sure no one has done before? And that's a hard one with Red Sonja. There are, 1,000 issues of Red Sonja comics out there over the last, since Roy Thomas and Claire Noto, was that her name? I can't remember the woman's name. Rebooted her for comic books. So, and what I've always loved about Red Sonja what I think is fun about her is she's not Conan the Barbarian. She's not 7 feet tall. She's not Big Barda. She's not Wonder Woman. She's just from the looks of her, tops 130-pound woman who's very, very skilled with a sword. But you can't sword fight your way out of everything. And the best writers of Red have made her more of a clever character, have focused on her ability to not just bash her way out of every problem, but to think her way out of every problem. But it's rarely like the centerpiece of a Red Sonja story. So when I was thinking about what would be fun to do with her, I went, what if I put her in like a classic mystery story? What if I took a hard-boiled detective story template, and the first one was called The Crimson Calypso. And it's not a ripoff of the Maltese Falcon, but I used the template of the story of, crazy old person is trying to get fabulous artifact that may be worthless or may not be worthless. In this case, instead of it being a jeweled a fabulously jeweled falcon, it's the Crimson Calypso is a statuette supposedly carved from the crystallizing blood of a demon and therefore invested with magic powers. And tied up with that, Red Sonja has a partner that she's doing mercenary work with, and they take on a new client, and the partner is murdered. And Red Sonja, like Sam Spade, has to figure out why her partner was murdered, discovers that it's all about this thing called the Crimson Calypso, and gets involved in all of the shenanigans with that. And it turns out very much like the Maltese Falcon turns out. That, I guess, was popular and sold well enough that I was able to say to Joe, hey, can we do another one? I want to do another one. And he said, sure. And it'll be another 30. These are 30-page specials, which is good. Gives me a little room to grow. That said, at 30 pages, I was boiling a lot of the Maltese Falcon down. For example, the characters of Thursby, Cairo, and Wilmer all became one person because I needed to get one person needed to do all of that stuff. So in this one, it's a short story. Dashiell Hammett wrote a short story called The Gutting of Coffin-Yal, which is for want of a quicker description, it's Die Hard on an island. And that's what this Red Sonja story is. She gets hired to be a bodyguard at the wedding of a fabulously wealthy family on an island that's an enclave for very rich families. In the middle of the night, there is an attack. I think it's not too big a spoiler to say a dragon attacks the island, and Red Sonja figures out why and what's behind it and why it's happening and what the plan is and all of that. One of my favorite lines I've ever written for Red Sonja is when she's watching the dragon very pointedly destroy the bank and the silversmith shop and the militia barracks and nothing else. She says, well, that's pretty specific stuff for a dragon. And then she says, in my experience, a dragon problem usually turns out to be a wizard problem, which I like as there's your genre matchup, hard-boiled detective meets sword and sorcery character. I think a dragon problem is usually a wizard problem. And what you're displaying right now is a cover by the great Robert Hack, where he has actually put Red in a trench coat, which I love. And that's very much the feel of that. But it's a really fun story. I encourage anyone to go out and read the Dashiell Hammett story. It's in The Big Knockover, I think is the connection. The Big Knockover or The Continental Op. It's in one of those two collections. And it features his returning character, the Continental Op, who is the template for all heroes with no name, going from Clint Eastwood in the Dollars trilogy to Yojimbo. Like all those guys are based on the Continental Op. So it's also the wandering warrior trope is a good one that fits Red Sonja pretty comfortably.
I love it. And I got to correct myself. Red Sonja Noir, you can reach out to your comic shop before this Monday to get it on FOC, but it does FOC June 1st. So you have a little bit of
so
time.
We got 2 more weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So my apologies for misspeaking.
No, that's good. I didn't think they do 2 at a time.
Yeah. But I will say, I always love hearing your talks on these classic noir pieces. And it's not like you reserve that for Red Sonja crossovers. You actually have a great podcast where you've been talking about noir books for ages.
Sure. Yeah, really talking about I haven't done a new episode in a couple of years. I need to get back to it. But if you're curious, I have a podcast called Pulp Today. And I use actually the real original definition of pulp, which is, for various reasons, people think it means trench coats and handguns and, gangsters. But pulp is a reference to the quality of the paper on which the thing is printed. So really, it's literature written for poor people. It's literature written for people who cannot afford a hardcover. Because a hardcover is a luxury item in the 19th century. A lot of people don't realize. This is something I'm fascinated in, which is the evolution of popular culture. In the 19th century, you have something called penny dreadfuls, and the first continuing adventure characters start in the penny dreadfuls. Nick Carter, Private Eye, starts in the penny dreadfuls, After penny dreadfuls comes pulp magazines, which are a little glossier. They have a nice cover, but you still buy them for a nickel at the newsstand. And as pulp magazines are coming up, then comes paperback books and then comic books. All of that is printed on cheap paper. So really anything that's ever been in a paperback, marketed for less than the price of a hardcover book, is pulp. So I do an episode of the series called The First Pulp, where I read from the Odyssey, because the Odyssey is very pulpy. It's all gods and monsters and sword fights and hot ladies, and it is absolutely a lurid adventure story that belongs in a paperback, even though it's rendered in gorgeous ancient Greek poetry. That's what the podcast is. And actually, I do an episode about the short story Gutting of Coffanyal. I can't remember which number it is, but if you go to Pulp Today and scroll down, you will find, I think it's called The Continental Op Dies Hard, is the name of that episode. And sometimes I have guests on and they read from their favorite thing, and we talk. But yeah, it's basically I do a short reading from the book, and then a little discussion of why it means something to me and what it means to me, and all that. I will reboot it sooner rather than later, because I enjoyed it and I've been meaning to. But it got to a point where I had done 72 episodes, and I sort of had run out of steam on, okay, I've done the 72 books where I can do this with no homework, where I don't need to reread it. Where I can just talk about it off the top of my head without any research. And I'd started getting into the point where I was like, I need to read some new books or reread some old books so I can be up to speed to do a new episode. And now I've got some more stuff I could talk about. But and I want to shout out Fragna Nana. I hope I got the right number of nanas. Thank you. And the fairy tale comic, Dave Acosta is already drawing the second issue. So we will, I think we're still trying to figure out covers on it, and I don't know when it's going to drop, because I think I have a lot of stuff coming from Dynamite this year, and obviously there's a need to space it out so that their line is not 4 comics by me every month. That would be a little much.
Awesome. So for those who didn't get to see the comment, there is a upcoming fantasy related series coming from David, and maybe we can convince David to come back on when we can talk about it
Oh
properly
yeah,
with patients.
absolutely. But it'll be called Two-Fisted Fairy Tales. I won't say anything more about it today, but the thing that you can contemplate until I come back on is it's a cross between Band of Brothers and A Princess Bride.
Ooh, I love that combo. I mean, I know what the book is about already, and I
Yeah.
love hearing you talk it up.
Thank you.
So if you want to hear more of David talking about incredible pulp tales, make sure to go check out his YouTube.
Thank you.
Obviously, get your orders in on Warlord, Altered State, and Red Zone Ignore. But before we let David go, we got to pull away from the She-Devil with a sword and all this classic pulp and talk about something a little bit more semi-biographical. Because coming up in the next few weeks, hopefully, will
I
be
think
the
so.
FOC for the penultimate issue of Drawing Blood.
Yes. Yes, the issue 11 of 12. Kevin is the hardest working man in comics, so our release schedule has been nuts. But issue 11 is pretty much done and on its way to the printer. And for those that don't know, the quick backstory is that Kevin and I met and became friends, and he had this project that he'd been working on for years, and he suggested that I script it, and we beat out the story together. And it's about a man named Shane Bookman, whose nickname is Books, who created something called the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, which, if it reminds you of the Ninja Turtles, it's supposed to. And it's basically a very, very fictional version of the arc, the ups and downs of Kevin's career. And as you can see from this cover, if you look closely at it, when we first started talking about it, was almost 10 years ago now. And we did Kickstarters, and eventually it landed at Image. And we've had one trade paperback out from Image. The second one will be coming this year. And at the time we started it, we were writing about a creator who hit a high early, used a lot of people. I don't know how many people know this about Kevin's career, that when he sold his half of the Ninja Turtles, he took the money and started a do-gooder publishing company for indie comics that crashed and burned for a lot of reasons. Kevin learned a lot from it. Hopefully other publishers have learned a lot from it. And then there was a sort of artistic and personal comeback from that. And when we started working on Drawing Blood, Kevin had made a deal with IDW to be in-house there and to do covers and plotting for their Ninja Turtles comics and all that. So that was part of his rebirth. And Drawing Blood, honestly, I'd like to think, was part of his Kevin Eastman renaissance. But when we started, the last Ronin hadn't happened yet. And when we were working on this, the creator in this comic has lost the rights or sold off the rights to the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls. And, I always had an ending for this series in mind. But at a certain point, in the original premise, the hero has drifted so far away from comic books that he's doing a Broadway show version of Fritz Lang's silent classic Metropolis. And it's a great, funny idea, but it has nothing to do with comics or drawing comics or the wellspring of his own talent. It's a sign of how far he's drifted from his original inspiration. And I can't remember how long ago, but we were talking about how we were going to end the series. And I said, he has to change, he has an epiphany, and I wrote it so that his contract, when he sold off the Ragdolls, allowed him to keep the rights to do a stage show. And I said, and the stage show's got to be The Last Ragdoll. A parody, a satire of The Last Ronin. Not that we're making fun of it, but we're making fun of the circumstances in Kevin's career surrounding it. So as you see on this cover by Ben Bishop, he's peeking out of a curtain, and it's, you know, opening night of The Last Ragdoll. And I'm writing issue 12 now. I'm a little behind on it, largely because I really, really, really want to stick the landing. It's I think it's the best work I've ever done. Absolutely no disrespect to Dynamite, but when you're writing about creators in the present day, it obviously strikes closer to home than what I'm writing about Mars. And look, I still put a lot of my stuff. You end up, everything is autobiography. Even Red Sonja is an autobiographical character if you write her. But books and Bookman, he's very much Kevin, but a lot of me has crept in there. Though it was Ben's idea to give him a mustache. That was I think based on 20 or 30-year-old pictures of Kevin. But all that said, it's work that I'm incredibly proud of, and I think Kevin always says, right now, the book isn't selling particularly well. The 11th issue of a book has a tendency to not sell as well as the early issues. But Kevin always says, when this is out in trades, when there's an omnibus with all 12 issues, people will discover how fine this work was, and it'll live on. I think it'll. I'm very, very, very proud of what we've done and with it. And the artist, Ben Bishop. The format of the book, for people that haven't read it, is that reality is drawn by Ben Bishop. The character frequently has fantasies where he interacts with his comic book characters, and those are drawn by Troy Little, great Canadian artist. And the flashbacks are drawn by Kevin in his 1980s Mirage style. So
even on 1980s paper, right?
It's on the paper that they have stopped making because the chemicals were bad for you. Every time Kevin's doing those pages, I'm like, oh, you got a window open, man, right? You're like, you're ventilated. You're wearing a mask while you're doing this, right? But yeah, that's Drawing Blood, and the 12th issue will hit later this year. 11th is coming out soon. And then, we'll wrap it up in a nice package and have it for people as trades and hopefully a hardcover omnibus down the road.
I love it. But I'm going to tell everyone right now, don't wait. Go to your local comic shop, get the pre-order in on 11. Don't even wait for the FOC on that, and ask them for the trade paperback. If you have not read this is a beautiful epic. And it's even more exciting to know that the ending is going to change to be more relevant to the modern reality. And that's a good sign when it's hard for creators to change their planned ending. I mean, I can't tell you how many, Robert Kirkman, I've known how Walking Dead and Invincible were going to end since day one.
Yeah.
It, in my opinion, tells a tale of quality when you realize the story can drive the ending more than the creative.
And again, the ending we had was fine, but it was when Last Ronin hit and was so huge, I had to say, look, this is yes, it's very, very fictionalized, but like The Last Ronin is the end of your redemption arc. Like that's a thing that really happened in the real world, where you came back to the Turtles, and and again, look, he's my friend and he's my business partner, but I also think The Last Ronin is a masterwork. It's when people haven't read it and they're Turtles fans, I'm always like, imagine if The Phantom Menace was the best Star Wars movie. Imagine if George Lucas went away for 20 years and came back and made like a Star Wars movie much better than The Empire Strikes Back. That's what The Last Ronin is. It's absolutely the best turtle story. And it's a beautiful capstone to the series. And I know they're doing sequels, and the sequels are great, but it's the way in which Last Ronin is so satisfying as a wrap up of everything about the Turtles from the original conception of it. I mean, it's inevitable that they would continue it, and the continuations have been great, but it's hard to beat Last Ronin, and that's so I always recommend that. And I also, the irony of the interconnection between the two of them is, I think a lot of people encountered Ben Bishop's work for the first time in The Last Ronin, but he only got that job because he was working on Drawing Blood. We had brought him into the team to draw Drawing Blood, and then Kevin called me up very early. Drawing Blood, Last Ronin 1 was in production, and he said, I got to ask you for a favor. We need Ben.
We had to change artists last minute after the first issue had already been like 12 pages drawn for Last Ronin. You're right.
Yeah, they needed in order to meet schedules, they needed more help, so they brought and even the style of Last Ronin is very much an echo of Drawing Blood, and I think a lot of people will get that. A lot of people will read Drawing Blood second and go, oh, the thing of the multiple artists for flashbacks and fantasies and whatever, that comes from Last Ronin. No. We did that in Drawing Blood, and then that got translated into Last Ronin. And when Kevin called me, he said, look, I know it's going to screw us up on the schedule forever with Drawing Blood, but we really need Ben to do this. And I said, look, the people that are waiting for Drawing Blood to be finished, hopefully they also really want to read The Last Ronin, so they will forgive us for giving them a different thing that they will also enjoy and love, instead of finishing Drawing Blood in a timely manner, which we most certainly did not. But, there's another thing where I say, look, I don't know that you can name a masterpiece of comics or a classic. Very few of them were delivered on time. We're on pretty much a better schedule than Camelot 3000. I can't remember how long the last couple of issues of. I don't know that Watchmen came out in a year. Those 12 issues. I think that took a lot longer than.
Nor did
months.
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns didn't come out in 4 months. So. And, as much, I think Drawing Blood number 8 is the best thing I've ever written. And because of the timing of things, I worked on that for a year. It's a 22-page comic book, and I had a year while other things were being worked on. I think we were behind enough that the art on 7 wasn't finished yet. And I had to keep, I got to go back and keep refining it and keep refining it and keep refining it. And I don't think it's a coincidence. It's the best thing I've ever wrote. And I also had the maximum amount of time to work on it, that I never get to work on anything. And look, I wrote an essay for my Kickstarter last week about procrastination and doing work at the last minute. And I am fundamentally, metabolically incapable of phoning it in. Even when I'm rushing it, even when I'm, when I'm a couple of days late on a deadline or a week, it's because it's not good enough. It's not, it's because I haven't cracked it, really, 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 really cracked it. And it's hard to, the whole thing about being a professional writer is you got to crack it on schedule. There is no, I'm going to go sit in the park and wait for a bird to land on my shoulder and tell me how the story ends. That's not, I'm waiting to be struck by a bolt of lightning.
You can't be George R. R. Martin on it.
Yeah. No, I can, and I wouldn't. And I don't believe in that, frankly. Everyone can do their work their own way, but my father wrote around 200 published novels, and people always go, oh my God, how did he do it? And I'm like, he got up in the morning, he sat at his computer, sat at his typewriter and wrote until dinner time. That's how you write 200 novels. That's the only way you write 200 novels. And was he laboring over every noun and verb and adjective in every sentence? Of course not. But I don't think that's necessary for good work. If it, there are great writers who only wrote one book in their entire career. That's just fundamentally a different kind of writer. Me and my father are blue collar, punch the time clock writers. And our job is to entertain and inform and enlighten and maybe make you feel something. And we're doing that on a schedule. We can go over a little bit here and there. Joe Ryban at Dynamite will forgive me sometimes for being a week late. But the job's got to be done. And part of it, and this is worth talking about, is I am the start of a conveyor belt at a factory. I am the start, speaking of dominoes, speaking of butterfly effects. Every day I'm late is another day that the artist now doesn't have time, and the letterer doesn't have time, and the colorist doesn't have time. And as someone who has lived hand to mouth in my life, if I'm a day late, I think about the fact that my artist is now getting a paycheck a day late. My letterer is getting a paycheck 2 days late. My colorist is getting a paycheck a week late. So you have a responsibility for the people in your team to do your job, do it in a timely manner, and do it well. And that's what I'm always trying to do.
And you have always pulled it off successfully.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's what I got coming out, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So before we let you go, big shout out. Warlord Altered States. Get your orders in immediately. Red Sonja Noir. Get them in sooner rather than later. And of course, go grab Drawing Blood. If you ever loved Last Ronin, you will adore Drawing Blood. Thanks, so you need to go get the trades. You need to go get the single issues and, let your shop know because it is phenomenal. But if you want more from David, outside of that wonderful podcast, you have a great Substack and other things. Can you talk up where people can find you online?
Sure. I can be found. It's a Patreon.
Patreon, not Substack. My apologies.
And the good thing about having an unusual name is I'm very easily Googled. So you can find me on Patreon. You can find me on social media. I'm primarily active on Blue Sky, on Facebook, Instagram. But the Patreon there's a free subscription level that gets you a weekly newsletter. I put a lot of and I have permission from Dynamite and from Kevin Eastman for this. The first place you're ever going to see, here's a sneak panel from this issue of this comic, is on my Patreon. That is absolutely the first place I sneak out what I'm working on, what it looks like, what the art's looking like coming in, and all of that. So, and on the pay side of it, I'm very slowly writing a book on writing comic books. The prologue you can read for free. And then after that is a step-by-step from the first chapter is the idea. The last chapter is doing conventions at panels, doing podcasts, doing PR. So right now I'm writing about pitching. That's the second chapter. And then we'll get into outlining, scripting, all of that. But if you're interested in comics or really, film and television also, it's a pretty thorough behind the scenes look at those worlds from my perspective.
God, and I wish we had more time to talk with you because I could go on about your recent comment about being the salesperson. So definitely check David's social media because it is a wealth of brilliance.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated.
Thanks
for having me on.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for joining us, David. As always, I'm hoping everyone goes on pre-orders, but we got to go talk about those books over at Lunar. So thank you for joining us, David.
Ciao, brother.
All right. And for those of you guys who are waiting on it, yes, Image, Oni, Dynamite, DC, and more. We got to go over to lunardistribution.com for that, right, Kyle?
Yeah, if we want to know what they're going to put out, we do.
All right. So as always, you guys can go to lunardistribution.com. You can see all of these items as we're going to brush through. But the first thing we got to talk about, the big one, Absolute Catwoman. The hottest books coming out of DC have all been absolute titles. Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, etc. Now we get a new 6-issue miniseries from Scott Snyder and Shea Grayson with stunning artwork by Bangle. Yes, the interiors are going to look like that cover. Absolute Catwoman. I cannot wait to see the Selena Kyle of the Absolute Universe in full form. We've seen her in her youth and a little bit in the teens of Absolute Batman. Now we get more of her. I am beyond excited, and there are a bevy of great covers available. We also get to see the start of the Supergirl movie theme of variants on Action Comics and Supergirl this week. I like this. Gives us an idea that, look, the movie is going to be a faithful adaptation of Tom King's epic tale, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Then, of course, we just talked to David, Altered States Warlords. I am beyond excited about this. There is a dynamite amount of incredible covers available with some amazing ratios. I'm truly excited about this comic. And then, this new Jeddick, Mathis Moores, sounds amazing. I'm intrigued by him. So we have all that. Then we get to the interesting parts. How about as we get near the World Cup, a World Cup themed Archie comic? Archie's going to really be thematic lately. It's been doing video game ones with comics timed with the Super Mario movie. It's got a semi-quincentennial comic for the American 250th anniversary. And for the FIFA World Cup, we're going to get a new soccer-themed Archie one-shot, which introduces the first appearance of a new character, Eternity Fields. And let's face it, when is the first appearance of a new Archie character not paid off, Kyle?
Well, I mean, and she's going to wind up being Archie's girlfriend because Archie has been a professional footballer since, the early days when he started dating multiple women. So it's, sorry, that joke I couldn't avoid. Just couldn't do it.
It was
yeah, I'll be honest, I'm more excited about the book that's next to that on FOC, which is, Archie's greatest friend, best friends forever with Jughead, who is the greatest Archie character. But you're never going to go wrong with especially a punny character name in Archie in Eternity Fields. And, the World Cup is going to be annoyingly ever present. Even if you like soccer, you're going to be like, okay, can we talk about something else for a minute? And Archie not going to let you. I'm excited for this. Dan Parent is right. Dan Parent doing it. So he's going to handle it with traditional Archie flair.
And, it's the World Cup. The World Cup will always make things topical. I mean, I don't think anyone knew what a Vuvuzela was prior to a certain World Cup ago. And now we all have that in our vocabulary. So Archie, all across the board, whether it's soccer to Deadites, he's there. Fun. Archie
now, I want this to cross over with the World Cup Archie book. Deadites go to the World Cup. Now you've got something interesting.
All right. I hope you guys all picked up Barbara Gordon Breakout this week. It was a phenomenal new book. Whether there were damages or not, it was amazing. I cannot wait for you guys to get pre-orders in for issue number 2 because Barbara Gordon in prison proves orange is the new black. Then we have a lot of great continuing series. Definitely take in mind American Mythology ends up back at Lunar under Prana with Catching Hell. We have more Conan fun with Dragon Arrow. All sorts of key and beautiful things continuing on. So make sure you go through Lunar Distribution, click through all of these things, get excited about incredible variants like Daniel Warren Johnson doing his take of the half dwarf, half orc that we all love and know as Dork. Still doing gangbuster numbers, so congrats to Brett being there. We have the Pride Month variants that are coming out from DC. We have so much, realistically, that I'm having to fill words just to go through images here. But another exciting one, now that everyone has discovered Patrick's unbelievable work on Tigress Island, it is time to have Patrick Kindlin's focus back on Gehenna. Gehenna Naked Aggression was an incredible miniseries that did really well. It is back for a one-shot Gehenna in Tokyo with Atsuki Yamamoto doing the interior artwork. Patrick Kindlin, again, great writer. I'm excited to have him back on Gehenna. And we have more Tigress Island while we're at it, and a bevy of beautiful variants. I get to keep saying bevy. I feel it's like a bad plethora joke.
I'm gonna buy a Matthias a dictionary or a thesaurus with the only word in it is going to be bevy.
Bevy. I like it. I look forward to that gift.
Mhm.
But yeah, beautiful covers of Gehenna in Tokyo. A lot of great options there. Personally, I'm a
Yeah.
fan of that Samaru cover, but I'm certain that the naughty XXX cover that is thankfully not on screen, that Zoyuki is doing, is going to be a very in-demand one.
Actually ordered the F cover. How do you know how to say his first name? Maurizio
Maurizio.
Rosenweig
Yeah.
variant. I really like that cover, the black and white look on this. I'm very excited for this series. I liked Gehenna originally, and to take Gehenna and kind of stick it in that traditional sort of Tokyo noir setting that I feel like this is going to fall into is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, and if you liked Gehenna Naked Aggression and haven't checked out Ghost Pepper, or vice versa, if you're liking Ghost Pepper and haven't checked out Gehenna, they're both phenomenal series that have sexy artwork, great female protagonists, high action, all sorts of fun, and art 2 of Ghost Pepper number 12 wrapping up right there. So all sorts of fun to be had. Yeah, I mean, it's a great week, a continuing series, but the big new one, Gun Honey, is back. Gun Honey and Heat Seeker have been going back and forth to give us bodacious femme fatale crime noir, and we get it again with Charles Ardai bringing us a return of Gun Honey, and Gun Honey doubles down. This has some stunning, sexy covers. Thankfully, Titan has censored some of the mature imagery on there, but everyone from Adam Hughes to Art Germ and much, much more, take a look on these covers. Let your local comic shop know which one you want, especially if you're going to be an idiot like me and get multiple. Let's face it, we have this problem with comics. There is some beautiful artwork to be had, and a lot of it is on these Gun Honey covers this week. So let your local comic shop know what you want and commit to, because this is a mature series, but it is some fun tales to be told. Then, new printings for those of you guys waiting for something post Invincible season 4. If you need more of Conquest, because he's not coming back in Invincible season 5, I can assure you that. He is in Invincible Battle Beast, and the second printing of issue number 8 has Battle Beast on the cover. And for those of you getting ready for more tales with capes, yes, Robert Kirkman and the team are bringing the Invincible universe back with new stories, much like they are with Battle Beast in capes. You can wrap up that reprint of capes number 5 with a new second printing to prepare you for new tales in capes. So all sorts of fun for Invincible fans too. I want to spotlight Justice League Dream Girls. We talked about it on last week's FOC. This is a weekly series coming out for Pride Month in June. It has Nicole Maines and Jadzia Axelrod, who are the two figures behind Dreamer and Galaxy. And if you somehow missed on the new Galaxy original graphic novel by Jadzia that came out a few weeks ago, please go reach out to your store, order it if they don't have it on their wall. I mean, the first graphic novel sold gangbusters numbers for reasons. I am excited to have people read the new volume, and then combining Galaxy and Dreamer in this epic new in-continuity Justice League tale. It's going to be all sorts of fun. Whew, lot to go on about. So, Kyle, have you read anything about M1 Monster Racing League yet?
Only the solicitation.
All
and
right.
that is enough, because I'll be honest, you tell me the words Monster Racing League, and then you say Jay Lee, and I say shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the pitch line alone, Fast and the Furious, by the way, a K-pop Demon Hunters, is solid. But this is a beautiful, very Jay Lee style story of a young girl transplanted from San Diego to Tokyo, now living in Japan, where she is the young blonde girl that doesn't fit in. She finds the one thing that can bring her into a new home, and that is her love of racing. as she discovers an illegal underground racing league that has a paranormal and monstrous twist. The crazy part on this is we get Jay Lee interior artwork again. Jay Lee is one of those artists who could literally make his entire career just doing covers now. And I love that we have an ongoing series with him doing interior artwork. And it is an amazing series. The first issue is phenomenal. Everything from cute kitties to badass cars and creepy monsters. It is absolutely amazing. You guys need to pre-order it. There's a number of great covers. I mean, you know, I love anytime we get to see the cat in the bee costume too. All will be very relevant for those who pick up and read the book, but man, just amazing. M1 Monster Racing League. Don't sleep on this. All right. Got to talk up Megalith, the Olympus Saga, a little bit more just because it took years to get drawn to completion, but Louis LaRosa's artwork on every single page is phenomenal. Plus, you get Matt Kent writing giant mech versus giant kaiju. We had Matt Kent briefly talking about it on the show a few weeks ago. Or was that last week? That might have been last week, actually.
I don't remember.
Yeah, time's crazy. But one way or another, Megalith issue number 1 dropped this past week. Go to your local comic shop, pick it up, and then, oh my God. I mean, there's even some great store exclusives out there. So Google it around. You're not going to want to miss out on Megalith. All right, guys. A lot of great Bad Idea reprints, everything from Ordained and the Machine. We had Robert Venditti on recently. I think that was
last week.
Robert Venditti on that we got to talk about some of these great things, so you can now reorder those. We just had a lot of great creators on, like I say, you know, Matt Kent, Robert Venditti, David Avallone. I'm excited. Now, for you horror fans, Red Roots is getting a second printing with the cutest of kitty covers right there. And then in an equally horrific piece, one of the most underloved characters in an epic film, Return of the Living Dead, gets a Tarman one-shot. Yes, that haunting first zombie from Return of the Living Dead that started the crisis in that graveyard. Tarman gets a background. Some sexy covers by hot artists like Kyle Hotz and Tim Seeley. This was originally one that was meant for Diamond. Finally, with all that disaster, gets a new home and distribution through Lunar. So I can finally read this one shot, spinning out of one of my favorite zombie flicks. I just only hope that we get some reference to, you know, send more paramedics. All right. Lots of fun continuing series. So with the big new film on the way, another one I got to put on everyone's radar. I mean, everyone has a favorite Street Fighter character. I mean, Kyle, you clearly have a favorite Street Fighter character, don't you?
Yoshimitsu from Tekken.
Oh, wow. Tekken guy. Okay. But even as a Tekken guy, I'm a Mortal Kombat guy. And we all have our favorite.
Well, that's exactly it. It's Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. If you like fighting games, like you like them all.
Yeah. But the most iconic character. We could say everything from Chun-Li onward in Street Fighter, but it all comes down to Ken. Ken and the Shoryuken right there is the book you need. With a film on the way this year, Aaron Sparrow and Roy Sutherland bring us a one-shot focused on the most iconic figure, doing the most iconic punch of Street Fighter lore. So great books there and a great cover that will be in our top 10 later to talk about. Meanwhile, I got to point it out again, those wonderful Supergirl movie homages, Jim Lee doing watercoloring, not something you regularly see Jim Lee do. Maybe this is part of the reason Hush is late. But one way or another, some fun covers as Supergirl continues with a film also on the way and a reprint of one of the most iconic Adam Hughes covers, the Legion of Superheroes issue 23 Adam Hughes Supergirl cover. now available in foil reprint as well. Whew. Supernatural. I love it. I'm assuming you love it, Kyle. No, not a big Supernatural fan. Well,
I'm a big Kansas fan. So that
there
makes
you
me
go.
a big Supernatural fan.
There it is. But I think personally, my favorite was not the Winchester brothers. It was the Lost Angel, Castiel, that really defined the series for me. And now Castiel finally gets a one-shot in the Supernatural comics. So more Castiel storytelling done by Preeti Chibber and art by the incredible Pascal Colano. I am excited for this. It's a one-shot. It's done in one. It's great stuff. So make sure you get an order in on it. We see continuations of Thundercats and Silverhawks, Tigress Island, as I said, the incredible Patrick Kinlan coming to his penultimate issue on there, as well as some wonderful reprints, and new tales for Transformers. It's a very heavy week from Lunar, so I got to wrap it up with the big one. Rob Liefeld hits issue 100 of Youngblood, and he's got more covers than you can shake a stick at, and somehow had his pen on every single one of them, even ones with artwork by Wells Bertasio, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, and yes, Robert Kirkman, the big book everyone's talking about. The majority of the Image founders, I think everyone but Jim Lee did a cover, and Rob added inks to it. There's a lot of great covers. Take a look at them. Let your comic shop know what you want, especially if you want multiple. I'm not even the biggest Rob Liefeld fan or Youngblood fan, and I have to get that Robert Kirkman, that Todd McFarlane, and the Jim Valentino piece. They're amazing. But if we're going to talk about hot covers, I think we need to talk to our top 10 and wrap this week up. So, Kyle, would you be so kind? Let's talk about the big books. First off, the honorable mention has to be Altered States Warlords, because it's got a little bit of everything. And that Joseph Michael Linsner shows it all. We've got Vampirella, Tarzan, Red Sonja, Deja Thoris, John Carter. It's awesome. And that first issue, once again, first appearance of a Jetak of Helium, Mors Mathis. I just got to talk it up, because Mors Mathis. So a huge shout out to David Avallone. Please go reach out and grab to your local comic shop, order that book, and get a copy. Whether you've never read a book on Barsoom, whether you know nothing about Red Sonja, or you just have a little bit of, need to stab at me, pick up Altered States Warlords #1. I guarantee you David will appreciate it, and you will appreciate the great storytelling he provides. Then we move into our top 10. Dead Samurai #6 had a stunning cover by Drax Gal. We told you about it. It was in our top 10 when it was originally on FOC. It's sold out. It's going for a good amount of money on the aftermarket. So now it's back with a new version in second printing form, done as a hot magazine style cover. Don't miss it on the second run. I mean, I own the original. I'm going after it again. So must have. #9, Castiel, beloved character of the Supernatural franchise, and you get a photo variant perfect to bring to conventions to get signed, while also enjoying the storytelling. Another one, first appearance of Eternity Fields. You're not going to want to miss out on a first appearance. An Archie first appearance doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, it becomes a valuable collector's item. Time it with the World Cup. And when the World Cup is actually going on, this is going to be a book people are talking about and want to track down. Make sure you pre-ordered it so it's guaranteed yours. Gun Honey doubles down, and this cover really doubles down as Art Germ makes it as suggestive as can be. Beautiful piece, as always, a masterpiece from Stanley Art Germ Lau. And if you want good noir storytelling, Charles R. Dye is great at bringing it to you. I am rare to ever put a ratio variant in the top 10. I had to. A 1 in 5. Tell me your store is ordering at least 5 copies of Street Fighter Masters Ken, and then you got to get the Ken doll Ken cover. There is nothing enough about this. This is a must-have. Reach out to your local comic shop. See that they're at least ordering enough to get the ratio. Again, it's a ratio, so they're not going to have enough for everyone, but see how much they're charging for it. It will probably be above cover price. And if you can get a hold of it, get this cover. Awesome.
But
cover.
he's totally sure enough. Little joke on there is hysterical.
Yeah, he's totally sure we can. Chris Anka, that is the sexiest outfit I've ever seen our beloved Emma Frost wear. And that's saying something because Emma Frost is known for wearing sexy outfits. Chris Anka, always a designer when it comes to his beautiful artwork. And this X-Men United cover earned its place in number 5. Speaking of Amazing Spider-Man 31, we told you it's going to be the talk. What the talk is, I don't know. Does Peter Parker reveal his identity to Aunt May? Does Aunt May tell us a secret about Uncle Ben we never knew? Who knows? Does it even involve any of the above characters? It is hard to say. But we know this is going to be a big issue. And for it, we got to give Lee Bermeo and his visionary covers a shout out with that awesome Miles and Gwen Spider-Verse nod. Spot number 3, Dispatched. Again, it's literally like Castaway meets MacGyver. It is, a bit of, oh God, what was the Bruce Campbell Nakayama Tower movie? Did I stump Kyle with this, or is he just out of the way of the mic?
You stumped me, and because all I could think of is Die Hard.
Die Hard.
You said Bruce Campbell.
I said Bruce Campbell. Yeah, I meant Bruce Willis.
Okay, I was going to say Die Hard 7 with Pizza Papa.
Yeah. I said Nakayama Tower. At least I got that part. Yes, Dispatch.
Well, it's Nakatomi Tower. Nakayama's a comic book artist. Anyhow, Displaced.
Right.
It's what did we say? It's MacGyver meets DoorDash.
There it is. I like it. All right. Spot 2, Absolute Catwoman is a big new book. Every Absolute book always sells out. It's all hot. It's always demand. This is a brand new one. And I'm telling you, the Carrie Andrews cover is the cover to have. Let your local comic shop know you need this book so it doesn't sell out. So you're not buying it at a premium on the aftermarket. Let your comic shop know what you want. And the one you want in spot number 1, I assure you, is going to be M1 Monster Racing League. M1 Monster Racing League, look, it's a beautiful cover, and that initially had my attention. It's a great creative team, and that had my attention. Reading this book already, I'm going to tell you, this is great. This is better than any Fast and the Furious. This is K-pop Demon Hunter worthy level of attention in comic form. Do not miss out on M1 Monster Racing League. Reach out to your local comic shop. Let them know which cover you want. I think that A cover is perfect. It has Kill Bill vibes to it that I like. Order it. You're going to want it because those are the top 10. And as always, reach out to your local comic shop as soon as possible with the orders you want. Check out lunardistribution.com. Check out prhcomics.com. See them all. We're happy to influence you, but do your own research and find some amazing books that you want to read and let your local comic shop know. Meanwhile, tune into the EXP today and this weekend for...
Well, tonight we have Nick's Original Art Show, which is at 7 o'clock Eastern. Then Nancy McCann, Friday Night Live from Comics Unlimited at 9 o'clock Eastern. Then we'll let you know. There may be a couple of live sales here tomorrow with myself and Miss Jen. Don't know yet. A lot of stuff up in the air. I got to get it going so I can go figure all that stuff out. But then on Tuesday, I want to highlight brand new show on Tuesday, Aggressive Positivity, with the Mad Prophet Comics, a.k.a. Tommy Donovan, formerly of Richmond Comics, Mad Prophet Comics. Aggressive Positivity with Tommy Donovan, or Mad Prophet, is a new show Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern. That show is going to be super fun. This week's episode is Who the Hell is the Mad Prophet? Where Tommy gives you a rundown of who he is and why you should listen to him. And then I just want to remind everybody, Wednesday nights at 9, Blake's Buzz, the hot dog hangout is what he started calling the Wednesday night show, where, Blake eats hot dogs and talks about comics with people. So make sure you tune in for all that kind of stuff. Remember, we have the EXP exclusive Ben 10 cover out now, available on the explive.com. Check that out. If you want to get it signed by Jay Fosgate, hit me up. But you can get it from any show here on the EXP and any EXP store. So you can get it from Mathias, you can get it from me, you can get it from anybody that's associated with the EXP. If you don't know, send us a message to our website, and we'll be glad to point you to a local comic shop that can help you. So make sure to check all that stuff out.
All right. So remember, we'll be back next Friday. We have some incredible special guests. Kyle might be at a convention, potentially even live from it. All sorts of fun, but you want to reach out to your local comic shop, get them the orders of what you want, and tune in every Friday to watch more and find out more amazing comics on Final Order Cutoff. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.